Are on the platform, lots of texts coming through after that debate between Buddy McCarty and Julian Batchelor. I just want to read this one from Judy. Sean, we attended the Blenheim meeting with Julian, and the Māori protesters were constantly banging on the windows and disrupting the meeting, turned power off at the power box to disrupt. We also had some in the hall who chose to yell out and disrupt as well as threaten the whole hall. And that was kind of my point to Buddy. You may disagree with Julian, but you've got to give him, in a democracy and an open society, his right to speak, to share and impart information, whether you agree with it or not. And that's very much, I guess, the crux of our next interview with someone we speak to regularly, who is spokesperson for the organisation that does the most for free speech in this country, in my opinion, the Free Speech Union. Their spokesperson is Jonathan Ayling, and he joins us now to discuss an issue that we've had our eye on for a wee while. The issue of Matt Walsh's film, What is a Woman? Matt Walsh being, well, a blogger, a social media sensation, a conservative commentator in the United States. He made a movie called What is a Woman? Looking at the issues of gender identification and sex identification. It has been, on some social media platforms, it's been taken down or restricted. And it was going to be played, to my understanding, at a venue in Tauranga, a council venue in Tauranga. But the Tauranga Council said no, and the Free Speech Union got involved. Jonathan joins us now to take up the story from there. Jonathan, how are you?
I'm very well, Sean, despite increasing censorship all around us, it would seem.
Can I ask you, Jonathan, you guys were concerned when I think it was the Tauranga Council said they would not allow a council venue to be used for the airing of this film or for the display of this film. You guys, the last I'd spoken to you, you were thinking about legal action or threatening legal action. What has unfolded since then?
We're still engaging with the council, and we want to be as constructive and engage with as good faith as possible. And so we are willing to have these conversations and see them set it right at this stage without us having to drag each other to the court. But look, Sean, the issue is a community group which had to cancel the event because of onerous security requirements which were placed on them by the council following a handful of complaints that the council received.
So it's the old story. A bunch of people say, we're going to make this so uncomfortable for you. We are going to be so disruptive that people's or council staff will be at risk and you'll have to get extra security. It's called the Thug's Veto, isn't it?
That's what it's called, but that's not what happened at all. No, we have no reason to actually think that anyone suggested there would be violence, that anyone suggested they would protest. We have no reason to think that council saw anyone going to turn up to campaign against these guys. They simply put this on the group, as far as we can tell, as a way to shut them down.
Okay, so they used it as an excuse. It was, a BS excuse for not showing the movie.
That's how it appeared. And to Tauranga Council's credit, initially, when the library in Papamoa was leased or hired and complaints were received, they said no. We do not agree with these views, but we have no legal standing to deny them the right to hire it. And that's exactly correct. That is exactly how they should respond. They should say, we don't have any grounds to stop people from expressing their opinions. If they are ratepayers and they have access to the library like everyone else, that's how it works. Something changed in a back meeting somewhere, and that's what we're trying to figure out. I have a suspicion that it will be some social media moderator or some equity inclusion officer or something like that who stands up and says, but aren't we actually helping Nazis here?
Okay.
Then they're going
so at the moment, the movie is still not going to be shown at the Papamoa Library?
No. At the moment, that is correct. This was being put on by it wasn't even a community group. It was a group of individuals who were coming together to have a conversation and to look at the content, which you can agree or disagree with. From what Matt Walsh is putting there, it wasn't a super well organised professional group. And so when
this argument, though, Jonathan, this thugs veto, and I can remember it being used when Speak Up for Women tried to hold an event at Massey University. And Massey University argued that the threat to their staff would be so great that it became a health and safety issue, right? That was another example of this being used.
That's correct. And right near Massey, when Speak Up for Women also had a similar situation in Palmerston North, the Free Speech Union in 2019 ended up taking a case to the High Court, where a very strong decision was made by Justice Nation at the time that individuals cannot be barred from renting facilities because of the legal ideas they want to express. And onerous requirements on them are effective tool of censorship. But Sean, we see this.
Just Jonathan, on that, does it concern you that, the Labour-aligned lawyer who Massey University used to come up with that argument about staff safety has just been appointed to the board of Television New Zealand?
Look, as I say frequently, the issue here is a cultural issue. So I'm concerned whenever we see anyone in positions of media or other significant places who clearly do not believe in free speech.
Well, Linda Clark doesn't, but she is now on the TVNZ board.
Yes. Of course, that would concern me, and that concerns me in senior positions in our universities, in our schools, as you say, across our media, but in our government, in our councils. These are all positions of considerable influence where these leaders have the capacity to stifle public debate and the free expression of public opinion. And so it concerns me at every level where individuals have fallen out with the idea that we should allow each other to speak. I don't know what the solution these people are proposing. It seems very unclear to me exactly how, as a society, we can address even one of the many complex issues we're facing if we can't speak with one another. And if I can really commend I'm not sure what the exact word is. It was more than a discussion. It wasn't quite a debate. But the conversation you've just had between Buddy and Julian Batchelor, look, I think both of those individuals are probably very entrenched in their views. Like you say, I don't think there's going to be much resolution really that emerges from those two. But they were both willing to engage with each other. And hopefully within part of that, they were willing to acknowledge the basic dignity of the other as well. And I don't want to get up on a soapbox too much here. But when we talk about the dignity of others, the right to believe according to your conscience, even though they're 100% wrong, is actually something that has served societies really, really well. And I'm not saying whether we've
got another issue about freedom of speech or censorship that in social media circles has taken off over the weekend. And that is Chanel Lal, who is a person who tends to be a bit of a lightning rod for a bit of online hate. Chanel Lal coming out on this new social media platform, what's it called, Threads, saying that we don't want any TERFs here. And then we have one of the country's largest telcos coming out and supporting his view that Threads should censor what it calls TERFs, which is in itself a form of hate speech. Does the Free Speech Union have a view on that?
Yes, and I have an op-ed coming out with a major publisher later today on this issue, so keep your eyes out for that.
Okay, what are you going to say in general terms? Give me a quick précis.
This whole saga illustrates the fundamental silliness of censorship and boycotts. Because what happened was Chanel Lal came out and said, let's make this a space where we don't tolerate people who think differently to us on this issue. And in response to, a fundamentally censorious position, in response to that, many people are trying to boycott Spark without ever really considering the fact that one, NZ, which is, formerly Vodafone, and 2 Degrees are also both
Rainbow Tick, part of the protection racket that is Rainbow Tick, yeah.
And so this illustrates, it is a form of cancel culture itself. And I find it ironic because probably many of the people who are cancelling their accounts with Spark right now are those that decry cancel culture the most. And I agree with them. Cancel culture is pernicious. It is a cancer in our society, and we don't want to give it a dime. And so why now, when it aligns with our values, supposedly, would suddenly make it all right? It doesn't. Cancel culture doesn't fix the issue. It perpetrates division and hostility. And I think the providers, the mobile providers, have also come off worse themselves, because even if their clients don't have alternatives to go to at the moment, there's a whole lot of resentment now that they have towards the organisation that's providing their mobile service. And so all we see this having done is fomented more division. And if we go back to the very start, where Chanel Lal says, let's make Threads a place where we don't tolerate TERFs, I just go, Threads actually has a block button as well. If you don't want that kind of material on your social media, block people who are putting it up there. I don't think that's the most constructive response, but really to try and segregate an entire social media platform. It's exactly that. It's segregation. And in the past, we've done that along other spurious lines that were the essence of bigotry. And now I think we are seeing this way of thinking emerges again, but it relates to our ideas. It relates to the tribal differences that we have according to our conscience or our belief or our opinions. And it will serve us as poorly now as it has in every other regime that has embraced bigotry in the past. I would hope that New Zealand actually has the chance to set a better tone on this, and I absolutely believe we can achieve that. I believe New Zealand can be the country that where we embrace the idea of intellectual diversity the most. It doesn't mean we'll always agree, and it doesn't mean we'll produce a utopia. But hopefully what it does mean is we can live beside each other. We can share mobile providers. We can share social media platforms. We can have neighbours and spouses and colleagues and friends who actually don't have to think the same way as us.
Yeah,
Jonathan, I'm concerned that's not going to be the case in 10 years.
Yeah, Jonathan, I also want an update. I know that you and, a consortia of people who have been talking about free speech and academic freedoms and other things and plurality. I think Bryce Edwards was involved in this. You guys were pitching for this government contract on disinformation, and we covered it here a few weeks back. It was a tender for an organisation to advise the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet, I think it was, on disinformation and online stuff. It looked like it was a make-work scheme for Kate Hanna and the Disinformation Project. Then you and some fellow travellers came along and said you were going to pitch for the work. Have you been successful or not?
I'm going to give you a bit of a tease here, Sean, because this is a conversation that we definitely need to come back to, but at the right time. We have not been successful. We're still following up who exactly has received that money and what their engagement with this project is going to be. But unfortunately, it would appear that almost all our fears were correct. And there is real questions to be asked as to who the government is funding quite significantly in order to provide what should be impartial and
which clearly isn't. Can I ask you, is Kate Hanna going to be? Is she going to be able to afford Christmas presents, Kate Hanna? Do you think?
At this stage, we don't believe it's Kate Hanna,
okay.
But that does not help me sleep any better at night.
Okay, when are you going to be able to tell us, Jonathan, if I don't get to the story first?
Well, this is all up to DPMC. We're trying to shake them down for exactly where that money's gone, hopefully this week.
Okay, were you ever seriously in contention, or was it a hopeless exercise?
Well, we engaged a professional drafter and his team. Together they had written, I think they said something like 4,000 tender drafts for government funding or similar. These were top-of-the-line people. Our supporters around the country said, we want you to do this and we want you to do it properly. And we were enabled to bring the best people in to write a fantastic bid. The last day before the bid was submitted, the lead consultant said, if you don't get something out of this, I will be shocked. This is a bloody good bid, and you deserve at least a portion of the funding. We thought they would break it down and bring in different outfits. We haven't gotten a dime. And so we're going to, what we're saying, Sean, is whoever has received this funding clearly does not have free speech at the heart of their work like we would have. And we're going to need our supporters to enable us to be a watchdog of groups like this and others.
Okay, we will keep chasing that one. Jonathan, I thank you very much indeed for your time this morning. Always a pleasure, my friend. Jonathan Ayling there from the Free Speech Union. So, Tauranga still resisting playing the Matt Walsh movie, What is a Woman? Oh, look, on What is a Woman, I just want to give a particular shout-out to an organisation called RE, R-E, or RE News or RE Media. RE is a subsidiary of Television New Zealand, which you pay for with your tax money. RE is the hip, wokester youth arm of Television New Zealand. RE purports to practice journalism, which of course it doesn't. It practices wokeism. But two examples in the past week of Re's wokeism are a story about period products, which doesn't say, it says women who menstruate. Sorry, not women who menstruate, people who menstruate. So they can't bring themselves to say women at Re. They say people who menstruate. And then there was a story about endometriosis. And they said people with cervixes who are women. So, Ree, I don't know what your woke, stupid style guide is. I suggest that the executives at Television New Zealand and all the staff at Ree perhaps get along to Matt Walsh's movie, What is a Woman? Only women have cervixes and only women menstruate. So your politically correct woke language is absolutely and utterly ridiculous. It makes you look like the silly woke cultural warriors you clearly are. And I refuse to take Television New Zealand or Re seriously when it engages in that sort of virtue signalling stupidity.